Hey YouTube, welcome to another video. This is a quick guide on Gambit. Um, just wanted to quickly go over some things and quickly go over his toolkit. So this character is his difficulty is high. He has 2 pages of abilities. We're gonna cover everything. Um, but one thing to keep in mind, if you haven't played with him yet, he is a healer support character. He's not like a full DPS. He can do DPS, but he should be played as a support. Please keep that in mind and keep the word optimization in mind when you play with this character. So he has quite a bit of systems. So basically he has the kinetic charge feature, so he can kinetically charge his staff and he can kinetically charge his card. We're gonna go over his staff and his movement real quick. So if you look at the toolkit on the bottom right hand corner, you see the right click is the staff, or whatever system you're using. The first attack is the staff attack, and the second there is his dash, and they both have 2 charges. So just going over the staff real quick. The staff, when kinetically charged, it does kind of an AoE splash effect damage to the enemy, but when you use it on a friendly player, if we can get these guys to resurrect here, it heals them. So just keep that in mind. It's not a really big deal, but it may come in handy at some point. So that has 2 charges. After you use it twice, you can't do the staff attack again, and he has really strict cooldowns. All his cooldowns are very strict. There's no way to regain charges. You have to just wait for the cooldown to end. So now going on over to his dash, he has a quick movement dash, only 2 charges. So what you really want to do with this, I know it's a cool movement, and it'd be nice if you could dash around the whole map, but he only has 2 charges. So this is a character that you really need to use wisely, and time, really focus on the cooldowns and really kind of keep track of that, because that is gonna play a big factor on how this character kind of flows in combat. So you know he has a dash, but so when you dash and you hit the bow attack, he kind of does this movement where he kind of flows, attacks through the target. Let me try it here. He goes through the target and does a decent amount of damage. Now you see, like, if you look at my cooldowns, it's really hard to abuse it. You only get 2 charges. It is a very if it had infinite charges, it would be broken, but you can only use it twice. And my advice on how to use this skills, right, this dash and bow attack, is if let's say a Hawk, or maybe even a Spider-Man or a Daredevil, since you are a support, main, and if they're quickly approaching and coming to attack you, maybe hitting you, coming at you with like an attack or something, what you want to do is you want to kind of do that, run away, use your distance to attack them, and then let me do this again. So you kind of want to shift, attack, then they're going to turn around, try to attack you, and then when they turn around again and get really close, you do it again to kind of, you're kiting them, you're kiting them. And so when you get the enemy to, when you kind of get the enemies back, they have to, turn around, which takes time. So when you turn around and kind of have to see your target, it takes a little bit of time. So you kind of want to do that quickly, and then attack, and then when they get close, see how these cooldowns really affect the gameplay. So be very mindful of your cooldowns. So you want to kind of use it, you kind of want to have it fully charged for that moment when you see that, whatever you need to get away or whatever it is. Kind of go through your target. You can do it again and run away, or kite them in, get them to chase you, and then do it again and take some energy away from them. So and he has, that's his, it's kiting, it's very, it's been since the beginning of games. Kiting has always been a very handy tool against opponents. And if you're good at kiting, that's one thing that is definitely gonna work in your favor with Gambit. Now his cards, his attack is these 3 cards. There is a little bit of AoE on it, so if you're at the right distance, you can heal multiple targets. It's kind of, you kind of really want to optimize your healing. It's kind of an arc. You can heal multiple targets, so I will give him an advantage in terms of being able to heal multiple targets at once. A lot of healers can only heal one at a time, or whatever, but he has that kind of ability to kind of spray his healing a little bit there for your allies. So now going into his cards, and this system he has, it's pretty it's pretty new. It's very specific to what you want to use it for. So we're gonna go into it. So when you use his healing hearts, right? Basically it activates his, it kind of it gives him a charge. It gives, the card floats around, it gives him a charge, right? And when that charge is active, you have some time to choose which route you want to go. So when you activate healing hearts, you have an option to heal or purify. Okay, so so the healing aspect, right? He goes into it. You press that, and he has this card that bounces back and forth between teammates to kind of you get like a little bit AoE healing on that. I would compare it to the Adam Warlock healing a little bit. You can kind of get in there to let it, well, can try to get in between it to let it heal you. But it's kind of just a additional healing kind of thing. It just kind of goes back and forth, helps you heal the team a little bit more efficiently. And so even before that, what I wanted to say is, what I call this right now, he has a full deck. He has 4 charges. You know, I call it a full deck. And so when you activate his card abilities, you use up one of those charges. So be very mindful of that, because you only get 4 charges. The cooldown is very specific. Takes a quite a bit of time to get your charge back. So really hard to abuse these abilities. You really need to know when to use them and kind of prioritize which ones to use at which times, right? So, you know, with the healing heart, you go flush and he heals. You know, it'll heal anybody in the vicinity. It's kind of random, I feel like. So, but that's the option with that. So when you go to healing hearts again and you hit raise, what that does, it purifies status effects. So let's say a Doctor Strange comes and does his ultimate and everybody's frozen, you can go into healing hearts, raise and purify everyone so they can regain their movement and make the super useless. So that's, you know, makes Gambit a very niche character. You know, you don't, you know, it's very specific. It's a very specific attack, so not something you can just, you know, utilize randomly. So you know, it's I would say very good for status effects, but if there's no status effects involved, um, kind of useless, right? So keep that in mind. You know, other attacks would include the Blade Ultimate that puts everybody in anti-heal. It can purify that, things of that nature. Okay, when you go to Breaking Spades and you hit raise, he shoots his cards in an arc, and it bounces the enemy off the ground, which you know, hinders movement, prevents the enemy getting into certain positions that would optimize you know, attacks on your teammates. So very useful for that. You know, also, you know, sometimes you can, you know, kind of, you know, use that to kind of push them forward if you're behind. It just gives you control over the enemy movement. Really handy if you know how to use it. You know, kind of interrupts them for like a second, and you know, if your timing is really good, you can kind of get the opponent to like kind of miss, or maybe misclick, misfire. But that is a very you got to be very skilled. You know, legacy players that come from maybe like an Overwatch type of game may already be skilled in these kind of skills. If you're new to these kind of things, you may want to practice, you know, in quick play a few times, kind of learn people's timing so you can interrupt their attacks, things like that. So when you go to Breaking Spades and you hit flush, what happens? Well, it's really hard to see there because he kind of one-shotted him. But you hit flush, and they have anti-heal. So really good for you know, like I would say, for example, a tank who's getting a lot of heals. You want to hit them with that, and you know, they would get anti-healed, and you know, because these tanks, when they have a lot of healing, they basically become unstoppable. Really hard to kill, really large health pools that are quickly recovered, and it's just a problem. you know, when you're trying to kill these tanks and they're getting these you know, these crazy heals. So the anti-heal really it, when capitalized on, would allow you to kind of burst down a tank a lot faster and more efficiently. So keep that in mind. But you know, the keyword optimization, and so you know, even when a enemy has anti-heal, you kind of want to use it in sync with you know, your teammates, um, you know, because you know, Gambit's damage, it's nice, but it's not a, you know, it's not enough to really burst down a tank. So you know, keep that in mind as well. You don't want to do anti-heal when you're fighting a tank alone, because I mean, you could, but you know, it's a short time frame to turn around. So you kind of want to do it when you have your allies. Um, so you know, being a support, you cannot. There's not much you could. You know, you really depend heavily on your allies and how they move and how they work, and you know, how to attack. So that's it for breaking spades. So you know, real quick, breaking spade, you activate it, you get a damage boost. You can go into flush, anti-heal, or into raise, that bounces them off the ground and kind of moves them out of place. So you know, if there's, you know, it's possible that if there's like, if they're really close to an edge, you can maybe bounce them, but you know, it's not like the Spider-Man web thing, you know, where he grabs them and pulls them. But you can displace the enemy a little bit, but I really feel like it's more used to kind of get the opponent to misclick or misfire, kind of displacing them, putting them in a you know, um, in a bad spot. So lastly here is Gambit's ultimate, and you really don't want to pop this. This is a team ultimate. I would compare it to like a Captain America ultimate, where Captain America does get buffed, but it's better with the teammates. This one heavily relies on your teammates, and what it allows them is it purifies them, and gives them increased movement and jump boost, and also gives them increased damage. So let me see, try to get these spots. When you activate it, purifies, they do more damage, they attack, you can jump higher, and then quick movement, and when the ultimate's over, you explode, you know, doing some AoE damage. It's, you know, I would compare it to like it's like almost like a stim pack for your teammates. Increased movement, jump, and damage boost. You know, so the more people that you can power up, the more beneficial the super. Um, so you know, Gambit very support heavy. From, you know, what I see it, he's really like a counter picking character. Like if you see, you know, the enemy maybe going with a lot of characters that have status effects, you would want to pick Gambit to counter those characters. You know, I feel like people may be upset about it because, you know, they can't just go into the game and utilize Gambit the way that they want. But I could see how the game has a lot of characters, and they kind of want to go into a direction where they it's becoming a little bit more counter. The characters are more of a counter tools to increase the depth of the game. I mean, you know, it may be annoying now, but if the game, you know, manages to have, you know, who knows, like what, 50 characters or 100 characters, um, you would need characters to counter other characters to increase the depth of the game to make it fun and engaging, um, kind of like a big chess match. um, but you know, typically I would have imagined Gambit being a DPS character, but they made him a healing, you know, which it's interesting. I mean, he does do some decent damage, but you typically don't want to lead the charge. You really are codependent on your allies. You really want to be behind. Um, Gambit does have some strong kind of anti-dive tools. Um, so I would say he's kind of an anti-dive, um, you know, anti-status effect character. Um, you know, his spear bow attack does do some decent amount of damage. You know, like for a DPS character who may dive in, you know, two of those will really deplete their life good, and you know, you kind of want to, like, you know, dive and then, you know, attack and kite them. So he is a good anti-dive character. He has really, you know, good movement, but you know, heavily cooldown based. So um, you really want to get very familiar with his tools and how, you know, the cooldowns are and the timings. So but you know, um, I could see this character um, being kind of like a late game character. You know, when, you know, if the other team is abusing status effects, um, he would, you know, kind of be necessary to counter that stuff, to give your allies a chance to win. Um, you know, status effects can really turn the tides of a match, and he really is a good counter pick. But you know, even even though he is on paper, you know, a good counter pick, he takes a lot of skill to kind of you know, be utilized properly. So you really, I would say Gambit is a character kind of like, you know, you kind of want to have fun and learn him and get used to him and get accustomed to him for those specific encounters. But you know, he I would say, like, um, he can, like, generally I would say he's mid tier, but he could be high tier if when used in the right circumstances, he can be a real showstopper. So you know, um, I would say, like, um, he will definitely be popular for now until, you know, people kind of understand what he's used for, and then his popularity would definitely um, drop off a bit. But you know, for those players who definitely like a challenge, he's the one for you. He's definitely like me. I definitely like playing with the lower tier characters, learning the game. You know, just really getting in depth and learning the characters and like kind of the the small victories feel like big victories sometimes. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. You have any questions? You like Gambit? You hate Gambit? Let me know. Take care and have a good one.